Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Willie Morgan Show with Manchester United icon Willie Morgan. As always, we like to bring you special guests from the world of music, the world of sport, and just generally people that have got very interesting stories to tell and crucially know the main man himself. Today is no different. We are joined by John H. Stracey, who is a former boxing world champion. Not many people can say that, although so many people wish they could. John, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. It's always a pleasure to be on your show, and with Willie especially, because we're great friends. So it'd be a lovely afternoon. I'm really looking forward to talking to you.
And in terms of yourself, Willie, before we get started, I believe you've got an exciting new partnership with allaboutsunday.com, all linked to horse racing, of course.
Yeah, I have. Sunday.com. I've got a little share horse. You know, I love the horse racing. In fact, we watched in Cheltenham today. And the horse is called Say What You Want, which is quite appropriate, I think, Callum.
It absolutely is on this show.
So from all the listeners, obviously there's an app. Callum will let you know what it is. And it's for a bit of fun. You know, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, as you say, in terms of the app itself, it's allaboutsunday.com. You can get involved there. Willie's involved, as you know. Say What You Want is the name of the horse he's involved with, but you can get involved yourself too. And it's very straightforward. If you just go to the website, it talks you through how to get involved. And it's an exciting thing because, as you know, Willie, Cheltenham, it's topical at the moment. And many people, of course, love their horse racing.
I do. I love sending all the bookies to Barbados. Bookies love me.
You know, I like that.
Before we start with John, I first saw John box. Now, I can't remember whether he was 17 years old or 18 years old at the Anglo-American Boxing Club in Manchester, which was...
That's right, yeah.
And John...
Nat Basso.
I think Terry Lawless,
Mickey Duff,
and you made one of your debuts up there as a professional. And
yeah, I was.
We were in the audience, Paddy and I.
That's right.
And Nat said, "Yeah, you have to watch this lad. He's a great fighter. He's going to be." And we said, "Okay. Can we bet him to win?" He said, "Yes, he'll win." So we said, "Oh, thank you." He said, "So I know John."
Yeah.
A long time ago. Like that was the first time I ever saw John. And then of course...
Yes, you did. I'll tell you what that date, do you want to know the date? It was the 22nd of May, 1972, at the Piccadilly Hotel in Manchester, as you said.
My God.
So, yeah, I know.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Anyway, Callum,
yeah,
John,
I know.
We all collected our money. We were delighted. And then, of course,
yeah.
Boxes.
Yeah. Yeah. We had I remember the fight so well, Willie, as well. He was the Spanish champion, and I beat him in the 6th round. Antonio Torres, his name was. And he was a good fight. I think he boxed for the European title. And he had a hell of a lot of fights, you know, and a lot of rounds he done. So, yeah, it was a good win for me because it put me up there to fight for the British title later. But, yeah, meeting you was fantastic. I'll never forget that. Never forget that. That was great.
Thank you. My God.
It was. It was.
Only what now?
Early days of...
38-year-old now?
Yeah. I wished it was. It'd be lovely, wouldn't it?
Oh, John.
I'll still be boxing now.
I'll still be watching you. So
one of the things that's interesting, John, about you coming on the show is we've had quite a lot of guests on who are Manchester United fans or are associated with Manchester United, but that's not the case for you.
Me?
Yeah.
No, I'm strictly a Spurs man. Tottenham Hotspur, I am. Can you hear me?
We can.
Yeah.
And in terms of Tottenham, Willie's been critical of Mourinho because he's quite a defensive manager, which frustrated a lot of people when he was at Old Trafford. What are your thoughts on Mourinho?
Oh, we don't like him. You know, sorry to say it, but we don't like him. He's just one of them things. Like you say, he's too defensive, and he doesn't give them too. I mean, Bale should have been playing straight away, and then getting himself into the game properly. You know, but because he wasn't that fit, instead of because he wasn't greatly fit, but because of what he's done, that's when he should have been in there, because he would have led the way. But he waited until he got fit. And he's doing okay. But last Sunday, when we played Arsenal, I didn't even see him in the game. You know, it was a shocking game for us.
But it's hard.
So I was really upset about that.
In Mourinho's teams,
very upset.
Hard to play up front.
Yeah.
Because he's defensive, defensive. And it must be Harry Kane and Gareth Bale. And Gareth Bale should have been in the team anyway. But, I go back to the great Spurs team when Bill Nicholson was the manager.
Yes.
The team. I know Bill Brown was in goals.
Yes, Bill Brown.
Blanchflower.
Danny Blanchflower.
Mackay.
Cliff Jones was on the wing. Do you remember Cliffy Jones?
The right wing was Terry
Michael Medwin.
Terry Medwin.
Terry Medwin. Michael Medwin, like me. Yeah, Terry Medwin.
Terry Medwin, Jimmy Green, John White.
As you say, Danny Blanchflower. Yeah, Johnny White. Yeah, Johnny White.
Great.
I tell you, it was a great team. I first went there when I was 10. That's when I first went, when I was 10. And my cousin said to me, he said, "Do you want to go to see football?" And I went, "Yeah, I don't mind." So he said, "We're going to go and see Tottenham Hotspur." Well, as a 10-year-old, it was such a long name. I thought, because I only knew him as Spurs. I didn't know him as Tottenham Hotspur. So I said, "Yeah, all right then." And we went along and we won 5-1. We beat Fulham. And Cliffy Jones scored 2 goals. And that was it. I was gone, totally gone. And just Tottenham from through and through.
Oh, the great.
So, yeah. And of course, our mate, brilliant. And because of our mate Mike England, he was a great Spurs player. Mike, what a man, what a guy.
Yeah, but we should have bought him. United should have bought him, not you. We should have.
Yeah.
Matt tried to sign him. On the train to go.
Did he really?
To sign for you, and it was too late. Oh yeah, we great guy as well. Obviously,
he was people. Oh, great guy! The fun we've had with him, haven't we? At the golf tournaments and everything. It's been marvelous.
John, I first played against him. He was centre half, of course, at Blackburn. Against him, I was on the wing, and we were playing at Blackburn. It was Christmas, and it was just a mud. There was no grass. It was just mud. And 2-0 at Blackburn. I was when I was at Burnley. This is back in the 60s.
Yeah.
I was taking the Michael out the fullback. I was doing my dance and doing the thing and telling how bad he was, and all of a sudden, this guy came running over, slid in, and I hadn't a mark on me. I was spotless. I'd never fallen. And he took me up in the air, I landed in the mud. I got up. He was lying on his back, Mike England. So I chinned him. He was lying on the floor. So I got up and I chinned him, and I got sent off.
Yeah.
The first sending off.
No.
And I've got
that sounds incredible.
And when I got to the sideline, Harry Potts was the manager. He whacked me in the back of the head and said, "You're a disgrace." Get off the
I'd say that is funny.
We are now,
So then you allowed him to play in the golf tournament after that.
A wonderful guy. He was a great player. One of the great people. So people we've met have been really nice.
Listen, I've got a question for you, Willie, actually. It's from a friend of mine called Brendan O'Connor. We're great friends. He's a massive Leeds fan. But But he asked me, he said, do you remember a player from Bolton called Roy Greaves?
Of course, he was right half. He played
Yeah. Tell us about him. Tell us about him.
Half backs. Roy was Roy was a good. Bolton had a great team. Ian Greaves was the man at the time, and Roy played right half.
Yeah.
That's when Sam Allardyce played centre half with Paul Jones. And
oh, really? Yeah.
Up front with myself, Peter Thompson, the old Liverpool left winger, Frank Worthington. And Roy Greaves. Roy was a nice player. Roy, I say, right half, very nice player. I don't know what's happened to him since. Obviously, you lose touch.
Yeah,
good player.
Because my mate Brendan O'Connor, he knows the family, the Greaves family, and he just asked me, would I ask you, because he's supposed to have been quite a good player, you know. So I said, yeah, I'll ask you. So
well,
fantastic.
Ask me to pass on my regards to the family.
Will do. Thank you very much. Very good of you.
One of the questions we had in for yourself, John, was a question from a fellow John from Hale Barnes in Manchester. If you hadn't been a successful boxer, what would have been your fallback career?
My fallback career, I'd have been a good thief. So, no, I'm only joking. I don't really know, to be honest. I mean, I always just wanted to box, but I don't know if I'd have been anything else. I liked football, and I got signed to play for Millwall Colts when I was a kid, but I didn't really want to be a footballer. I only went along with a friend of mine who wanted to play for him, and he got in, and they asked me to sign, but I said, no, I want to be a boxer. And the guy said to me, but what makes you think you're going to do well at boxing? So I said, well, what makes you think I'm going to do well at football? So he said, well, football's a lot easier. You know, you don't get hit and that. I said, you do, but you don't get hit on the face. I said, but I just love boxing. I said, so I won't be playing football. And he went, well, and it's funny because he said to me, well, good luck, he said, but I don't think you'll make it as a boxer. And I thought, oh, yeah. Never saw him after that, but it'd been lovely to see him say about 12 years later when I did win it. Yeah. Amazing. But yeah, I worked in the stock exchange as a messenger, but again, it was to help the boxing. So I don't know if I hadn't have done boxing, whether that would have been a way in doing business like that. But no, I was always set to be a boxer. I mean, well, singing, of course, I started singing very young, and I always wanted to be a singer as well. But obviously, you can't do the two, as I thought. And so I just covered the boxing. But obviously, I do cabaret now and a lot of singing now. So I sort of gone back to that thing now. But yeah, boxing was always the agenda.
An interesting question from Ian, who's a regular listener. Hello to Ian. It's a question for both of you. And it's interesting because of the two sports. I'll come to you with it first, Willie. How did you prepare mentally for a massive football match? And also the question, obviously, spinning over to you, John, after Willie's answered, is how did you prepare for a massive boxing fight?
How did I prepare? Well, you didn't. You know, you just turned up on the day. Walked into the dressing room, took ages to get ready. I mean, and go out 10 minutes before kickoff. That was it. There was no mental preparation or anything. You just another game. And even the big games, you know, the World Cup with Scotland and that, just the same. It was just another game. So sadly, Ian, I wish I could tell you it was a great big build-up, but it wasn't. I'm sure it's different for John. Obviously, it's all done in the past. But
yeah,
and it was just another game.
Yeah, we'd have a training camp. Sometimes if they were great, you know, the British title fights or the European or world title fights. But as you say, really. You because we were training every day boxing, you didn't need to really go away and do a camp. Only when, you know, as I say, when it was like a title fight, you did it. Because you're fighting 15 rounds, not 10 or 8. You're fighting a 15 rounder in them days, and you needed to get away, so you can concentrate. But yeah, it was. I think every fight that I fought was always a different fight. Everyone thinks it's the same. It's like when you play football, you're playing the same thing every week, but the game's always different. My boxing was always different. You know, I could fight a southpaw, so I'm not going to be fighting the same way as I would someone who's an orthodox, you know, that way. And you get someone who runs forward to you, some go back, and you've got to adapt. So it's like you, but on the day you do, you know, you can do that. So that's what we used to do, you know, do it that way.
And Martin has a nice question, which is a perfect follow-up given the success you had in your career, John. How does it feel when you are the world champion? Because only one person can say that at a given time.
Well, they can't now, because you do get 2 or 3 world champions in the same weight division. But when I was boxing, it was just a one champion. So, yeah, it was, I mean, when I boxed for the world title and I went over to Mexico City, where it was, to win out there, because, you know, you've only got a few people who are English, to win out there in front of a huge 40,000 crowd in a bull ring, for me, was just amazing. And it was, you know, it was tough, but you can adapt to it. You can get your way of doing it. And I did. And but it was amazing. I mean, to go out, you know, I'm not being big-headed, but to go out to Mexico in them days, it's not like now. I mean, I only had 25 fans flew out, because in them days you didn't get many people following you. They couldn't afford to go. Now you can have thousands go, because the air flights are a lot cheaper, accommodations are a lot cheaper, tickets are a lot cheaper than they were if you look at the time difference, you know, 45, 46 years ago. And it was just amazing to go to Mexico City and win the world title, you know, and being the only world champion at that time. So yeah, it was amazing. You don't really realise until it sinks in. I mean, I was still walking around as if, oh, have I really won it? I don't know. And then all of a sudden it sinks in. And obviously it was something that I always wanted to win when I was a kid, and lucky I achieved it, you know. And with luck, you've got to have your little bit of luck, but you've got to work hard. You're not going to get it any other way. And it was something that I dreamed of as a kid. And like Willie said, I mean, he would want to win as much as he could. And that's exactly how I was. You know, you want to win as much as you can and win titles and be something, you know, do something. And it was fantastic. I mean, to win the world title 46 years ago as well, it's not like today, you know, where the money's so different today. And let's be fair. Today, you've got all these Sky TV pay-per-view. In my day, you didn't have all that. You had none of that. But what you did have was more people watching it than they do today. When I boxed, you had 25 million watch it from our country, just our country alone, because it was on TV. But now, of course, you've got to pay for it. And if you don't pay for it, you don't see it. And there's only a couple of million who watch. So I can walk along with someone and they'll go, oh, I remember you, Jolly Stracey, but I don't remember the other one because I don't watch boxing anymore. Do you see what I mean? It's turned around a lot. But yeah, I mean, when I won the world title, I achieved it. That was the goal. As everyone wants to, yeah, every boxer wants to win a world title. And like every footballer wants to win the World Cup or something, you know. And it was the greatest achievement for me. And I enjoyed every minute of my boxing career. That's the main thing. I enjoyed every minute.
You mentioned Mexico City. As a boxer, is it harder to fight at home when you've got thousands of people there to support you and there's there pressure? Or is it harder to box away, as you say, when you've maybe only got 25 of your own?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it was difficult in Mexico City because of the altitude, the atmosphere, and the food is different. People are different because obviously they're not speaking English. I didn't have many fans come out, and it was a lot different. But you know, now when you fought in your own country, you could have thousands of fans, and it could be fantastic. You know, you can enjoy it. But yeah, sorry, I forgot the question now. What was the question?
Is it harder to fight at home or fight away?
Oh yeah, oh no, it's much harder to fight at home. Yeah, sorry, it's much easier to fight at home because you're on your own doorstep. When you're away, like I said, you know you can. It's different food. Also, you're sparring. You can't fetch your sparring partner away, or some of them don't. And you spar people out there who want to hurt you, or they'll, you know, try and do something to you because you're fighting one of their, like a Mexican. So you know, it's all different. It's a lot harder. Yeah, it is a lot harder. But I remember when I boxed in the Roland Garros tennis stadium, you know, in Paris for the European title, which I won there. But that was tough because them French, you know, they really get at you, they goad you. I mean, as you're walking through the crowd, they're trying to hit you and punch you, you know? And that's the kind of thing that happens here. And people don't see it, but that's what kind of thing happens. So, but it is much harder to fight away, yeah, because you're not normally used to being in that environment. That's why.
And in terms of football, Willie, is that something that you would agree on? Is it much harder to play away from home, but in Europe or or across the globe, when maybe in Argentina or wherever you've had to play before, than it is at home?
No, playing at home was amazing. Obviously, you got Burnley and Old Trafford and in Bolton. You know, you got all your home fans who love you, and you go out there and it's just a great atmosphere, and it's easy. You don't think about it. When we're playing away, again, most of the time you don't bother, especially if it's somewhere like Spurs or Chelsea or wherever. The hard places were Italy, because they were despicable. That's the players. And Argentina was probably when we played the Estudiantes in the World Club Championship. They were diabolical. They're the worst, horrible team that we ever. They were horrible. But most of the time, you know, it just, you go on the pitch and you just play against whoever's in front of you. That's all you do. So
yeah.
what John did, I mean, he's been very modest there. To do what he did back then, to go abroad and win a world title, was unheard of. What he did was amazing. I mean, truly amazing. Because, you know, John was a great fighter. And not many people, well, I don't know if there was anyone before John, maybe, but I'm not sure if John wasn't the first to go abroad and win a title, because it was unheard of. Because no matter how good you were, unless you knocked the guy out, even if you knocked him out, they give the verdict to him. So I say, what John did was amazing. So it's, you know, it's a sport. At the end of the day, it's a sport. And as I've said many times, you know, other than kicking a ball and getting paid for it, which my dad couldn't believe, "You're going to pay you to kick a ball?" I said, "Yeah." Well, because he worked in the pits all his life. I was going to be a miner. That's where I was going. So to get paid to play football, he could not understand that they were going to pay me to play football.
Yeah.
I know, but it's a different world now, John. You know, back then.
Oh, totally different world.
We didn't have. There was nothing, and you didn't know anything existed outside of soccer where it was. So when they came along, it was people say, "Oh, it must have been hard." No, it wasn't hard. It was fantastic to get paid to play football and show off. It was fantastic. So
yeah, no, I do understand what you're saying. When he asked me the question about boxing abroad, when I fought for the world title, the welterweight, the last person to win it in Britain was Ted Kid Lewis, and that was 60 years before.
Okay.
Yeah, 1920, in the 1920s, something like that. So it'd have been, something like 55, 60 years that when I won the welterweight title. And there'd only been 4 ever won abroad. Before now, you get lots to win abroad, but in them days, I was I think I was the 5th fighter ever to win abroad.
Yeah.
So it was amazing, to do that.
That was fantastic. You know something? I must tell you, he's a great friend. I envy John. I love Elvis Presley. I love him. Yeah. I've got everything he ever did. I love the man. And I envy this man. I'm sat looking at, because I had a couple of chances to meet him. And they both felt 177, John. Part of my was that they'd fly me to see Elvis in Vegas. That was part of the contract when I went to play in America.
Yes. Yeah.
The guy that owned Minnesota had his, not Minnesota, Chicago, had his own plane. And he said he would fly me to Vegas to see Elvis. And while I was there, they phoned Graceland and asked if it would be possible that when we were going to play Memphis, could I go and meet Elvis? They explained who it was and all the thing. So they sent a film crew with me.
Really?
Yeah, the film crew. And it was 1977. And of course, Elvis took ill.
Yeah, in August. He died in August the 17th, I think, or 16th. Yeah.
Obviously, I couldn't get to see him. No. To meet him. And then, of course, he didn't do any more shows. He died. But Callum, this man.
Yeah, I did.
Didn't you, John? Please.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I was in the same dressing room as him at the hotel where we was the convention center, Las Vegas, and it was. I tell you the date. It was the 14th of February, 1973. John Conti was on the bill, and Muhammad Ali was fighting Joe Bugner, and it was very funny because we were downstairs into the dressing room, and he was walking around Elvis, but I didn't even know it was him. He had a pair of old jeans on and a top on, and you're expecting when you see Elvis, whoa, like that, and because it wasn't like that. And then what happened was I'm getting ready to fight. Lawless has got his hands up, my manager, and I'm punching the hands. And next thing, he walked over and he said to me, hey, good luck, because apparently I was told he loved boxing. He really enjoyed boxing. And when they had shows there, he would always watch, So I think he went upstairs to see it, but he would be away from everyone. But as I was punching Lawless's hands, doing that. And then he walked over and he said, good luck for tonight, And I didn't recognize him because, as I said, he didn't look like Elvis to me. You'd expect the white suit and the hair back and all that. Just very ordinary he was. And he wasn't big. Everyone thinks he was big. He wasn't. He was probably just a bit taller than me. And I started talking to him and he said, I hope you win tonight. And it must have been hard for you to come over from England and all that. And I'm going, yeah. But I'm not taking no notice because I'm just ready to fight. And I just want to get in there. I'm going, yeah. And then he's gone, anyway, I hope you do well. And I said, oh, thank you. And then as I'm walking out with Lawless, he said, who that was? And I went, no. He went, that was Elvis Presley. And you imagine what I said? Oh, yeah, go away. He said, that was Elvis Presley. And I took no notice, got up in the ring, had a 10-round fight, won the fight. And it was a 3-way contest. So we won 2-1. And as I'm walking downstairs, he says to me, that was Elvis Presley. I went, where is he? But he'd gone, by then he'd gone. But yeah, it was amazing. And then I saw him the next night, Willie. He was amazing. Yeah, I tell you what, you would have loved it He was fantastic. It's the best show I've ever seen. He was, when he finished on the American trilogy.
Yeah.
He walked out and it was funny because, you know, at the end of it, they always said Elvis has left the building.
Yeah.
They used to say. And what happened, he used to run into, there was another one dressed up the same as him. So when he went round the back, people would be walking out and they'd see this guy going up in the lift. Right? Sorry, the guy running out to the car. So they'd all follow him, and Elvis would get in the lift and go up to the top floor. Yeah, absolutely amazing. And because met Frank Sinatra as well. He was watching ringside. Dean Martin, Sammy Davis, Elizabeth Taylor, Richard Burton. What was the guy? It was just unbelievable, you know. Just amazing. Loved it. And that was Vegas then, you know, the real Vegas then. When you look at the people were there, you know. Just loved it.
Sorry, Callum.
And one of the things that's interesting is we talked about the mental preparation for a fight. John, again, from Hale Barnes in Manchester, wants to know, how do you mentally prepare for stepping away from boxing? Another question from John in Hale Barnes in Manchester is an interesting one about the mental side of sport. As a professional boxer who's been world champion, how do you prepare for life outside the ring? Because it is such a competitive sport.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's a lot of fighters I've known over the years who dedicated themselves so much to boxing that when they retired, they didn't know what to do. They just hadn't a clue what to do. But with myself, I always knew the day had come. I was 28. I didn't want to go on any further. I won my last fight, so I was happy with that. And I had a great career, amateur and professional. And I thought, well, I don't want to be one of these fighters that go over and be hurt, you know, and start in say 20 years' time, like some of them, you can be, you know, you can have all sorts of problems. And I didn't want that. And thankfully, I never did. So I retired at 28. And then after that, I started going into business, hotel. I had a pub in the East End, hotel. And then I just sort of started work and doing stuff, you know, doing a lot of after dinner speaking, cabaret work and stuff like that. So it never affected me. But there are some boxers who cannot give up. You know, Charlie Magri, I remember Charlie Magri, and when he was retiring, and he said to me, I'm going to be lost. I don't know what to do, you know. And so it is a difficult thing to get, you know, to get out of your system. It's very hard. That's why a lot of boxers go back, because they can't get away from it, you know. And luckily I did, and I never bothered after. I didn't want to fight after that.
Did you find that with football as well, Willie, that when you come to the end, is there a temptation to keep going because that's all you know as such?
A temptation. I think the hard thing about football, I never retired. I just stopped playing. I never announced a retirement because I had some offers on the table to carry on. Both one Leeds, one Man City, funny enough, to carry on. But I'd spent 4 years playing all the year round, non-stop, obviously commuting to America, and the seasons overlap. So for 4 years, I played something like 450 games without a break. Didn't have any break at all. And I was just tired. But the hard thing for, doesn't matter who it is, boxers or footballers, unless you stay in the game, the highs that you have as a player are phenomenal. I mean, to walk out in the pitch at Old Trafford and have 63,000 people singing your name, and the highs are phenomenal. And when you finish playing, that's gone. And that's the hard bit. So therefore, a lot of ex-players, they turn to drink, gambling, to get a high, to get a kick. I was fortunate. I played golf, and I used to play. I played golf for money, and that kept me going. I mean, it wasn't obviously nothing like playing at Old Trafford, but it did keep me going, kept me sane. But it is difficult because your lows, the highs are so high that the lows are really, really bad. And the same for once you've been a world champion, what do you do after that? When you retire, what do you do?
Exactly, yeah.
You never get that high again. It's not possible, no matter what you do. So you have to find something else. And John's done it in his music. I mean, John's a great singer. John sang alongside Johnny Mathis and Howard Keel, the great Don Crowder from the Eagles.
Yeah. Tony Christie.
Tony. John did a couple of stints at the Howard Keel Golf Classic. Fantastic. So that is, I mean, for him, that must have been great. It's not the same as winning the world title, but it's still something nice that keeps you going, just keeps you mentally stable. So, but it is difficult after you finish, especially if you've been at the top. It's all right if you've not done nothing, it doesn't matter, you're just a journeyman. But when you've been at the top, it's much, much more difficult to pack in, unless you stay as a manager. If I stay as a manager, obviously you get the highs and lows, but I've been lucky. I count myself lucky. But golf was my saviour.
Yeah.
In terms of golf, John, how would you describe your love of golf? Because Willie, as we know, loves his golf, and he's very competitive as well.
No. Well, we used to play together many, many times. We played in Tenerife. We used to go there. And obviously when he had his took the Howard Keel Golf Classic every year, that was amazing. That was the best tournament, or the best weekend you could ever have. It was wonderful. The people he had there was wonderful. But the great thing about golf is you're still competitive. It still makes you competitive. Is you still want to win. Now, I remember playing with Willie loads of times, and I know he's like me. He wants to win that game. He's not playing me to lose. And if you hit a bad shot, you go, but sometimes you think, oh, that's good because I can win this hole or win this game, And that's all and that's the competitiveness in you. And Willie will tell you that. He might say, well, we'll have a good game and enjoy it. But I know he would want to win because I'd want to win. And that's what it's about.
I play to win, didn't play to enjoy it. I played
Exactly. Exactly.
I enjoyed it. And believe me, if I didn't win, I didn't enjoy it. So, it's competitive. That's what you are. That's what made you what you were. You have to
Absolutely.
have that. It's in you. You cannot teach someone. You either got it or you don't. It's that simple. You can't coach someone to have that inside you. You can coach someone to do something, but you cannot coach inside. You got it or you're not. So I hope that answers your question. I think a question from John McLaughlin, I think, over in Hale Barnes there. So I hope that answers you, Jonathan.
The last main question I've got for both of you, it comes from our good friend Otterman. First of all, Willie, which footballers in the modern day do you admire? And then to finish, John, which boxers in the modern day do you admire?
I'll go first.
Yeah, you go first, John. Absolutely.
Okay. I tell you, I do admire very much. I admire Canelo. Canelo. He's a wonderful boxer. A guy who's very dedicated, very, very dedicated, and has won, 3 or 4 world titles at different weights. And for you to go up to that level and win, and he's only lost 1 out of 55 or something like that. He today is the greatest boxer in this time. I admire him very, very much. He's got one-way vision, tunnel vision, and I think he's brilliant. I really do. and he's fighting our man soon, Billy Saunders. I'd like to see Billy win, but to be honest, I can't see that. But I admire him. And I admire, quite a lot of fighters. Can I just say something that Willie was saying about it's very hard when you've done something? There was a boxer years ago called Alexis Arguello. He sadly passed away. But he was a great boxer. You look at him up after, Alex Arguello. And I tell you what he told me. He retired 3 times and come back. But after he retired, he became a manager. He couldn't get on with that. Then he became a trainer. Then he became a promoter, right? Then he became an agent. And he said to me, do you know what, John? He started boxing again. He said, I cannot get boxing out of my head. I've tried everything, but boxing, I just cannot get out of my head. And that's exactly what Willie's saying. You can't. It's one of them things. You've got to get out of it. It's, it's very, very difficult. But so that was, his go in it. He's taking it.
That is a fascinating point, because you're right, in boxing and even in football, you see how many managers do you see that had a playing career and they end up managing to their maybe 75 or late 70s because they just can't give that football bug up.
No, you can't. You can't give it up. It's very difficult. Even like you say, managers of boxers. I mean, some of them, go into their 70s still managing, maybe 80s.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. And even trainers, you get trainers who are 70-ish and 75 still want to keep training the lads because it gives them something to do and they enjoy it so much. When you get a young lad and you make him what he can, you get such a big kick out of it, and that's what it's all about. And as Willie said, it's incredible how you feel. It's marvellous,
And in terms of footballers, Willie, who would be the modern day guys? We know your love of Messi, but who would be the other guys that you absolutely admire?
Messi.
Full stop.
Messi. He is. I'm telling you, I've said it a million times. I never thought I'd ever in my lifetime. I mean, I played with great players. I mean, super great players. But there was one head and shoulders above everybody. That was Pele. Pele was in a world of his own. He was so good. And I've said many times, John, that I never thought I'd ever see another Messi. I tell you what, very, very close. I wouldn't like to pick the winner. Messi's a genius.
Yeah.
He's an absolute genius. And he gets on with it. He's not big time. He's perfect. He's perfect.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the only time I would, well, not the only time, but if he's playing, I want to watch, because what he does, I know how difficult it is, and what he does, he makes it look easy. He's so good. Box-wise, I love Sugar Ray Leonard. I love.
I know you do. I remember that. Well, my idol was Sugar Ray Robinson. He was my idol. Sugar Ray Robinson.
Well, you're not that old. You're not that old.
Oh, he was my hero. That man. I mean, he had 85 amateur fights and never got beat. Had 40 first round knockouts. Then he turned professional, and he lost his first fight at 40th fight. That's his first one he lost on his 40th fight. And after that, he went 92 unbeaten. And he lost 3 fights in 15 years in an amateur and professional career. He was the greatest boxer of all time. There's no one ever come near him. No one's ever come near him. Even Muhammad Ali said, I may be the greatest heavyweight, but I'm not the greatest boxer in the world. He said he was Sugar Ray Robinson.
There you go.
Yeah. And I used to aspire to him. And I met him, when I boxed on the alley, Bill, he was sitting watching the fight. And who he was sitting next to? Joe Louis. And, he came out he got out of his seat and he walked over to me and he said, congratulations, that was brilliant. I hope you do well in your career, boxing career. And Terry Lawless went to me, oh my God, you only been said that by Sugar Ray Robinson, because Terry Lawless loved Sugar Ray Robinson. Yeah. And I tell you, that was That was a moment for me. Same as Presley, watching Presley, seeing it. What? But Sugar Ray was just incredible, man. He was the most gifted boxer there's ever been in our history of boxing. No two ways about that. Like you say with Messi, you didn't think there'd be someone after Pele. And when you had the likes in the old days of Joe Louis, you'd never thought you'd see someone as good as Robinson. He was the man. Unbelievable.
So there you go, Callum.
Well, as I say, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, John, and I love the fact they've been able to mix football and boxing, because they're two sports that so many people connect with simultaneously at the same time. So thanks for your time, and I look forward to the next one.
I just want to say to Willie, when the golf starts again properly, let's get out and have a game.
We will.
All right.
Well, I'm looking forward to get some, I'm a bit skint at the moment, so I'm looking forward to get some money off you.
Well, that's not hard to do now. I can assure you. I'll give you it. I'll give you it before we start.
Give her a love to Kathy, will you? Tell her we're loving the music video.
And just one quick thing. My wife was at the very first Howard Kill Golf Classic.
I know.
Do you remember?
No, I know because we had a conversation the last time I played in your golf day. Like she was telling me, when that was 1987.
87, yeah.
1987.
Yeah.
And she
was wonderful.
Hey, you're lucky, man. She looks about 20-year-old.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I'm very, very, very lucky. She's brilliant.
And thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
No, fantastic, Willie. It's always great to talk to you. I've really enjoyed talking to the chap there. It's been fantastic.
And all the Man United supporters out there. I wish we could play at the Etihad every week. It'd be great.
You just never know. If we could, we might even win the league.
Win the league? We'd won the league. We'd beat them every week. Anyway. Okay.